Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending Tableau Server User Group virtual meeting. Today, our topic is going back to server admin one-on-one. Although in this forum, we have talked about many other fancy things like automation, Python thing, how to change extract priority, and so on. But recently, I got a lot of questions around some basic users, groups, permission things. And also, I received feedback that a couple of companies, their server got into issue with a basic backup issue. So that triggered me put together some Tableau server admin one-on-one, more focusing on relative new server admins and the basic stuff that have to be done as a server admin before you can do the other good stuff. Today, I'm going to cover 4 areas. One is what are the must-do things as a server admin? The second, how do you monitor your server? What are the basic things to monitor? The third is around permissions. How to take care of users, groups, projects on the server, how do they work together as a Tableau, very comprehensive permission. And lastly, of course, is upgrade. If you use Tableau online, you may not need to worry some of those, for example, upgrade. But as a server admins, we will have to deal with all those basic areas. Let me start with a must-do. It has been a norm. Okay, my screen is frozen. Okay, now as a server, as a car owners, it has been a norm that we always do a car regular maintenance. It's been become so common knowledge. You got to do the oil change for your car. You got to rotate the tires. Those regular car maintenance becomes so critical that even some car manufacturers, when you get new cars, they even include some of those services into the package. Or if you buy new tires, if you don't do a regular tire rotation, they even may not give you the warranty later on if things happen. Unfortunately, some server admins don't do the regular server maintenance. Here's a 2 must-do Tableau server maintenance. If you are doing this already, you're awesome. If you're not yet, one key takeaway from today's session is go back, take care of those basic stuff. I'll tell you more where you can get scripts for those. The 2 must-dos. One is regular backup. Needs actually daily backup. Second one is regular clean up on the server. So what are you talking about? Backup cleanup. Well, more specifically, here's what the must do as a server admins. And every day, you run 3 things basically. TSM maintenance cleanup. It'll delay the temp files, even temp data in your Postgres daily. Then daily doing the backup. Here's TSM maintenance backup. And you do want to try to restore it. If you are able to do a daily restore, that's awesome. If you're not, at least do a once a week restore. I do hear from other admins that although they have backup, they never bother check the backup. And then when things happen, it's too late. You got making sure the backup works. How do you make sure? Well, you restore it and validate, making sure the restore is correctly. Those things need to be done daily. Now, why you do a weekly cleanup? That's the same TSM maintenance cleanup. Well, in every single week, that's what I do for many years. I shut down the server, TSM stop, and I do the TSM maintenance cleanup. That will delete all the temp data, temp files that I couldn't delete during the hot cleanup. When the files are in use, I cannot delete everything. So I do have weekly server scheduled maintenance. I shut down the server and I do the regular maintenance. Now, I know that you're concerned, some of you. It has a downtime every weekend. Yes, that is that is your right as a server admin to reserve every weekend server downtime to do the good cleanup, even in a global company where you have users 7/24. I manage a very large server, we still do this. We shut down the server every weekend, we do the regular maintenance. I'm telling you, this helps for the server healthy. It happened to me a couple of times in the past where the regular maintenance did not take care of the things. Failed, actually. We even didn't know. And then it impacts server performance over time. I see it on my server. I'm sure it will also happen on your server. So one takeaway is that you as a server admin reserve your right to do every weekend server downtime maintenance. Basic stuff. Well, if you have not done this, so if you need a scripts help, sample scripts, thanks for Jonathan, the information lab. Myself, I read his scripts. I use his scripts for another server maintenance. He shared his scripts in the GitHub. Take a screenshot. You will be able to find those scripts on the GitHub where you can have the backup, you can have the cleanup. He also has a third script, which is log archiving. Is optional, up to you. But basic backup and cleanup scripts that you should have. Strongly, strongly recommend. Save your life. All right. That is must do maintenance. Move on next, monitoring. We all monitor our servers. The question is what to monitor. Probably there's no correct answer, but this is what I monitor. I'm going to share with you very openly. I monitor 4 things, more on the A and the B, because CPU memory does not have issue for me often. I look, but I don't look every day. The D Tableau server event notification is mainly out-of-box Tableau server notification. When there is issue, they will send to us as a server admin. But for A and B, that is render time and Actress delays. I watch those every single day. Every single day. I subscribe to those views I built. I watch it every single day. Let me dive into that. This is the view that I watch on my server every single day. I even subscribe to this view. And this view, I'm telling you, is really sensitive and accurate. It is nothing but the average render time from HTTP request table. You can easily build, but I will share this workbook with you in the next few days. It is calculated as render time by second on the right side. On the screen, you shall see is a complete add minus create add. Simple enough. Convert to a seconds. So the more important one is the second chart from the top, average render time by hour. I look at by hour. Then I do have a second measure, basically the same thing. I just look at by day. The number in the circle is by day. That gave me an easy, quick visual. When I look at the chart, see if, look how it looks like. This view is very sensitive and is very good. There are multiple times where I see the server average runtime is longer, which means server is slower. Even I don't have a complaint. There are multiple times. Very sensitive. Now I further have a I further drag onto drag on the workers, mainly the vSquares workers, into this view, so I can have a render time by hour by node. And I did find the issue in the past when I had a slower node. I have multiple nodes, vSquares nodes. Surprisingly, in the past, it happened to me. It took me a while to figure out actually is one of the nodes, vSquares nodes, is slower than the other one. It took me a while. The percentage vSquares by node, that just gave me good understanding if the load balancer is working correctly. Mostly it is. And the last one at the bottom, the view, is a count of the current sheets. Basically, it is workload. That's a very good indicator of the workload. As you can see, the weekend is lower, the weekday is getting higher, it's hour by hour. This is a view I look at multiple times a day. I receive subscriptions every single day. I love it. This should become every server admin's default. This is my start page on my server when I look at the server every time as a server admin. In the chat, I send you the recording location. I will attach a summary. I will put out summary next few days of this tech talk with the recording and also with this workbook. You can also build your own. It's relatively straightforward to build. This is number one critical thing for me to monitor my server as admin. What's the second? Well, if you use extracts as what I do, you want to know how long and which hour your extracts got delayed. When we say delayed, it means the scheduled time compared with the actual start time. That's a delay. That is how we look at also on our server, hour by hour, day by day, where is the hot spot as extra delay. You can also, same view, you can also look at the subscription delay. Or you can put them together, up to you. I will also share my workbook for this video with everyone. Actually, if you upgrade to later on, 2020.2 is still in beta. Later on, you will see this background dashboard. Don't know, hopefully you can see. This is a new server admin view out of 2020.2 release. One of those is the background dashboard. On the right side upper, you can see there were multiple charts. One of those is how long did the job wait before running. That is actually your actual delay. And also it has a right side has how many jobs, how long the jobs and how many jobs running per hour. I think this is a great view. Tableau, I'm really glad it's coming up with this new server admin views, help us to see our background, how the background is going. The second most important KPIs I look at on the server every single day. The third, again, as I said, I don't know your server. You might have different situation. This is really easy. There are many ways you can watch your CPU, memory on the server. Normally, it's not the issue for me. I don't watch. I watch when they're slow. I look at why it's going on. Or you can set up alert. There are multiple ways, depends on the OS, depends on your infrastructure, how to do this. And of course, number 4 is Tableau server out-of-box notification for the server events. If you have not set those up yet, you should do so. It's only good. Nothing goes bad for this one. Basically, if any server potential issues, storage, space, anything, just send you a notification to a server admin group. All right. So we covered the must do, that is regular backup and restore. It have to be done. The key takeaway as server admins is, again, you reserve the right to have the weekly downtime for the cleanup. The second one is monitor. I monitor real time every day, extracts delay every single day. I also look at CPU's memories and notifications necessary. Let me see if there are any quick questions I can answer before I jump into the permissions. Just a few quick ones. A question here. If you are doing daily cleanup, why do you need a weekly again just for a few? Yes, why I need a weekly cleanup? Very good question. Again, daily cleanup is done at hot cleanup. Tableau server will delay most of unnecessary temporary files. However, there are some files cannot be deleted. There are some data even in a Postgres cannot be deleted. That's why I need downtime weekend to making sure to a thorough cleanup. Very good question. Another question is, the TSM maintenance restore validate that restore only? The real restore is dangerous. Again, restore needs to be done in a different environment. Of course, you should never restore data to the same environment. I'm assuming you will have another server environment you can do a restore. GitHub repository, I will share the link. I don't have a CPU memory workbook. I'm assuming you will figure out it's not a workbook, basically. Again, Victor has a question. When we do cleanup, the history table record is gone. Should I expect those data to be other database so I can do a yearly trend analysis? That's also a very good question, Victor. When you do a regular cleanup, you have options set how much data you keep in HTTP request table, the backgrounders tasks table, and also the historical events table. You don't want to keep too much data. That's why I want to do a daily cleanup, because the more data you keep on the server, the slower server performance will be. HTTP request table, I don't recommend anyone keep more than 10 days. On the historical event, by default, I think it's 183 days. On the backgrounder jobs table, the default is 30 days, which is good. Now, if as server admin, how do I balance that? I want to see the trend, but I don't keep that much history. This is where I build that view. I subscribe to the view. I subscribe to the view that every day so I can go back and check what happened last year. What is the render time average? That I don't have to keep too much data. That's how I do it. There's a question from Zach. Do you find that the performance from HTTP, I guess, request table is compatible to what you find in the log? I found it's pretty good. I don't go to log. Log is too crazy. I don't go to log for this render time. If you want, feel free, but my log is way too bad, too complicated. From HTTP request table, I think it's good enough for me. Scott has a question. How come we cannot do VMware backup and restore? Is any, I don't know. That's your OS environment, VMware backup restore. Zach, I missed first 10 minutes, so I will have recorded. Bill, is there any way to get notification of individual process figures? Whatever notifications has, it has. It doesn't have, it does not have. I don't know. Keith, is the XRX monitor report something you will share? Yes, I will share. I will share that. Okay. The XRX monitoring I will share, but I'm telling you, next version 2020.2 will have out-of-box new server admin view that will have the XRX waiting time out of box. All right. Let me move on next. Thank you for those good questions. Next is performance. I'm going to spend a good 20 minutes to talk about this. This is important for server or site admin, and also this is damn confusing. Be open and honest with you. Let's first structures within Tableau server. Even you don't use site, actually you do have a default site. Site is there always. Okay, you may have multiple sites. You may have only one default site. Is you have to have a site. If you use online, you are using a site as well. Within each site, like site A, there are users groups. Let's be clear. I know this is for server admin 101. The users groups are available at site level, not project level. Users and the groups are available for all the publishers in the site. You cannot restrict certain groups being only used by certain publishers or by certain other users. No, it's a site-wide. Although site is a partition, nothing can be shared across a site. Within a site, users groups are available for every publisher to use. That's number one. Number two, projects. All your content, no matter its data source, workbooks, flows, and later on metrics, have to be published within a project. You have no choice. Have to be published within a project. And each workbook may have multiple views. Permission is more like you can think users group assigned to different objects, either data source, workbook flows at project level. It's more like that. Going back to the basic, this is a Tableau Server Admin 101. There are a couple of questions in the community recently asking the user sync to the server. I'm going to start with basic stuff. The fact is that all user identities have to be stored locally on Tableau server, no matter how your server is configured. Period. There are two ways when the server was set up, you can configure the identity store. One is local, one is Active Directory. Those two are mutually exclusive from each other. You can choose one or other. cannot be changed later. You will have to reinstall pretty much. Tableau documentation has way how you can change that if you have to change. It is strongly recommended to choose Active Directory if your company is using AD. Why? Because Tableau is optimized for AD. Tableau has built some great features around AD. Like you actually can select some groups in AD to sync with Tableau server. You can schedule how often you want the groups/users to be synced to your server. If you use AD, once the server is set up, identity store using AD, the user group sync is becomes so easy tasks. You don't have to do the script thing anymore. That's why it's strongly recommended use AD if your company has AD. But for those who may not have AD or some other reasons you don't use AD, you use FDAP, use other directories. The choice is select local. Now, if you use local, if you select local identity store, there are still two ways to get users/groups onto Tableau server. One is, of course, manual. You select if your configuration is local, you can manually add users to the server as admin. You can also sync groups, sync users from your company directory. But those sync has to be done by a script, and you have to write the script. Tableau has those APIs. I'll give a link showing up here by Donna Colors. She has Tableau server group sync script examples. You should be able to take from here and modify it, and for your own company's directory sync. When we say sync means sync the users/groups. That's how you will get users onto the server. Once users are on the server, again, it is site-wide available to all the publishers in the specific site. If you have multiple sites, you may need to sync this to multiple sites. Move on next. This is just users and the groups. Move on next. Projects. How do you do the projects? Well, a few things to be aware. One is only admins can create top-level projects. Only admins can create top-level projects. The recommendation is that you as admin, no matter site admin or server admin, you create top-level projects. And then after that, you change the project owner to the person who requests this project. Because by default, whoever created the project become owner. As admins, we should not be the owner. Recommendation is change the owner of the project to the requester. As optional, you can also add project leader. In other words, it's project admin. I use two words same way. A project leader actually is a project admin. Or you can let the owners add admin. That's one. So my recommendation is that server admins, site admins, we only create initial projects. And then we change the ownership to the requester. And then let the project owner leaders take care everything within the project, includes create sub-projects, add new project leaders. They are able to add new project leaders. No matter they are a project leader, existing project leader, or project owner, they can add others as a project leader. They can delay others as project leader, self-service. They can manage all the content permissions within the project. So as admin, that's how you should draw the line. Your work should be less. I hear a lot of admins, they're so busy. Everyone comes to you and you just don't have time to serve everyone. Well, because likely you are not giving enough self-service to others, which is why you're being so busy. Then people complain you're being so slow. Recommendation again is don't do the things that you don't need to do, like this, like admin, project admins, project leaders. You should not be a project leader. You should give the project leaders to others, let the others to manage everything else for each project. Hopefully everyone is cool with that. That's how you can enable more self-service, how you can scale better as admin. All right. How permission work together. We talk about user groups, talk about the projects. Next, I'm going to demo. I'm going to show you how those things work together as permission. This is a little bit challenge for a relatively new admins to understand. I think the better way for me actually is show you something. I know you want to see something as always. I'm going to show you something. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to show you. All right. Got some application server errors. So what's going on with me? What? I want to show you, but I got errors. Haha. Let me see. Up. Looks like I got a problem. Well, I'll come back to this later. I need to TSM restart, looks like. Maybe not. Let me see. I want to show you some permission stuff. First, let me see if my server is up and running. Maybe not. I need to do a TSM restart. I'll come back to show you. Got this thing. Testing server. Let me restart. It takes a few minutes. I'll come back. Okay. I'll come back with this one. I'll come back with this demo when it is up. Maybe let me try to do another one. Let me do another one if I can. I do have another server. A second. I do have another server sitting over here. Not this one. Give me a second. Let me see if this one is up and running. All right. Okay, I'm going to show you a site rule and project level permission and workbook level permission. By the way, I'm using a brand new version of Tableau server. This is actually the beta version of 2020.2. You look at 2020.2. All right. First of all, a site rule. When you click a user, okay, in the site, you see a site rule. Okay, this is an important concept. Each user, once these users are synced to a server, you have to give them a site rule. By default, most places will give them Explorer site rule. You can also give them creator manually, or Explorer can publish depending on the license you are using. They are pretty much the same thing. Okay? This is a site rule. Who can change the site rule? Only admins, server admin or site admin. Depends on if you want site admins to change the site rule for user or not. So this is a site rule. What is a site rule? Site rule defines the maximum capacity this user can have within this site. Let's say I'm a, let's say, whatever, publisher. Okay. Let me say just Ravi. Let's say Ravi. If Ravi side row is Explorer, I'm changing Ravi side row as Explorer. Now, what it means is Ravi can never publish any workbook to this site because his side row is a publisher. Is interactor, not publisher. So that is side row. Defines the maximum capacity this Ravi can have. Now let's look at the project level. That's a side row. I'm looking for project level, use Explorer. I'm going to look at the project. So what project permission has? It also has a confusing publishing here. Okay. A side row defines a maximum capacity a user can have on this site. Let's say this Ravi, this user A is a publisher side row, but doesn't mean this user can publish any project. So within each project, this is where I want the project leaders to decide. Each project, they can decide who can publish to this space. Now if I delete our user as publisher, okay, I only give publisher one being able to publish to this project. It means only publisher one can publish here, other than the site, other than the admins. For this one, I even don't have a project leader. I can give a project leader if I want. Actually, and now it's new feature here. I can give a project leader. For example, I can give publisher 2 as project leader if I want. Now it's right now here. Project leader. Actually, change it. Set as project leader. This is a new way to do the things. Set this user as a project leader. Set as project leader. Now the publisher 2 becomes a project leader who can do everything, anything within this project. So that is a permission at the project level. And most critical thing is at the project tab. Now at the project level, there are other tabs. What those means? Workbook, data source, data row, flows, and you may have flows, you may have metrics later on. What those means? Those are the default permissions when a new content is published to this project. Those only serve as default permissions. When there are some content already, unless it's locked. This case is locked, so that just other content will follow. But I can unlock it. If it's unlocked, those only serve as default permissions when the new content is published here. Let's say workbook, what default permission you gave? I don't give anything. So when a new workbook is published to this project ad hoc, by default, no one has any permissions. I have to grant permission from scratch. You can also define different default permissions for data sources for others. Okay, but once it is published, once the workbook is published, like I get Superstore 1, this is published. Once it is published over there, I can always change the content permissions. I can always give user permissions or group permissions. Okay. Now I talk about permissions for the workbook. I can give in Explorer permissions. So the default permission at the project level really doesn't matter anymore. So it's completely independent after the content is published to the project. So what it means is really is more important for Tableau is the content level permission. When I say content means workbook, data sources, and you may have flows as well. Really, the critical thing for the permission is really controlled, maintained, managed at individual object level. The project level mainly serve as either default for the workbook data sources or controls who can publish to this project or not, and who is admin for this project. Go back to slides as a summary, what we just see. Cite each user's maximum privilege is the cite rule. Each user has to have a cite rule. At the project level, okay, this is recap. More important is the project tab, who can publish, who is the project admin or project leader. And then the workbook data source is mainly as default permission when new content is published, unless the project is locked. And the more important for the workbook level, data source level is individually controlled by the owners of the data source workbook or by the project leaders. This is high level how the permissions works. And this piece is important for server admin to understand the basic permission stuff. All right, so we covered users group sync. Strongly recommend to use AD if your company uses AD. If you choose local, you will have to sync them either using scripts by yourself, or you will have to manage users manually. Server admins create the projects top level only, and then let the requester become the project leader, owner. They can manage the content permissions, they can manage project level permissions. So you can become, you can have bandwidth doing some other more important stuff. All right, next topic is upgrade. If you're online user, you don't need to worry about upgrade. But if you have own servers, you do have to upgrade. I gave you quick tips how to do the upgrade. We all love Tableau's pace of innovation. Every single quarter, there are a bunch of new features coming. You want to leverage those new features. You want to make those new features available to your publishers. You as admin, you are the only person between those new features and your publishers. Think about this. Without server being upgraded, you just cannot enable those new features to your publishers, to your end users. What are my tips? Upgrade often as possible. Don't follow the legacy traditional other system upgrade pattern once a year thing. No, for Tableau, do it at least twice a year, and better 4 times a year. Follow every single major release, like 2020.1, do it. Then 2020.2, do it again. Strongly recommend Tableau upgrade as soon as possible. Always have to handle the testing. As server admins, I do not test workbooks. Telling every publisher that is their accountability to test their workbook, validate their workbook. I'm not testing any of their workbooks. And when I'm ready to do upgrade, which version to go, choose latest version. What it means. Let me give you an example. If you do upgrade later this month, you should go for 2020.1. You should definitely go for 2020.1. If you do the upgrade next month, you got a choice between 2020.1 or potentially 2020.2. Never, don't need to go back to 19.4. Seriously. All right, recap. Then I'll do the QAs. Must do daily and weekly maintenance. Very important. Make sure that your server healthy. Fight for your weekend downtime. Do the maintenance. Basic stuff, important. If your car doesn't do the oil change, then do a tire rotation, your car is not good over time. Same thing for your server. Number two, monitor. What things to monitor? You can monitor many things. I look at every single day my render time on the server, every single day my actress delays. And also I look at CPU memories when I needed to. And of course, enable some notifications out of box from Tableau server if you have not done so. Number three, try to read the Tableau documentation, understanding the basic Tableau permissions. They are sometimes not easy to understand, but spend some time as admin, no matter you're admin for online or server admin, you got to have some basic understanding of that permission, how permission works. Otherwise, you cannot help out other publishers. You cannot answer many of the questions they have. You will get those questions wrong answer. If you give the wrong answer, unfortunately, things can become very messy later on. Upgrade server as often as you can. Minimum twice a year. It's better 4 times a year. Right now I have 2 servers. One is on 2020.1, one is on 19.4. The 19.4 will be upgraded in later this month. All right, this is all what I have today. I'm opening for Q&As. Let me look at QA button. All right, where is QA? I might stop sharing. All right, a long list of questions. Let me see if I can go through where I left. All right, I'm going to start with where I left. Kevin's question: what percentage of admin-led publishers apply security at the workbook level versus have admin lock the permissions at the project level? Again, Kevin and everyone, it's up to you how you draw the line between you and other publishers. I draw the line. I don't manage project level permission. I will let them become a project leader. They can decide lock the project permission or not. Up to you. If you want to manage not only the server side, also the project permission for them, that's your call. But that's not your job as admin. That's my take. Hopefully that answers Kevin's question. Where is next? How can we avoid duplicated workbooks from one side to other side? You cannot. You cannot avoid duplicate data sources, duplicate the workbooks from one side to another side. Let them do it. This is a self-service. You provide a platform for them to publish. It's up to them to publish. I will have a separate session later on, talk about the side strategy. Okay. Victor, can Tableau allow server admin to create its customer templates rules for the together templates? No, does not have that. Although from 2020.1, you can copy permissions. You cannot create your own template. Generally, do you consider role-based permission better practice than individual user level? Same question, but then project log permission versus individual content. Log or not is not admin's decision. It is business area's decision. Let them decide if they should log it or not. Brian, should we do TSM backup before TSM cleanup? In case there is something in the backup you need restore from cleanup, I never. Up to you, right? It's a good idea. You can do the TSM backup before cleanup. I do that other way around. I do the cleanup first, then I do the backup because that can speed up my backup. Again, the cleanup is to delay the junk, temporary files. I never, be honest with you, last 7, 8 years of being admin, I never need to look at this junk, to be honest with you. B Sim, how can create a memory CPU workbook? You should. There's no workbook basically, because CPU memory is not within Tableau. Is in your server somewhere else. Is more like infrastructure level. How often should index be done? Index, I thought index is done, I think, consistently. Is handled by Tableau server automatically. I never had to worry about how soon the index is done. I only worry about if the index job failed, actually. I mean, not answer your questions good enough. Feel free to post this to community. We can have more conversation. Hey, my favorite Toby, you have a question. Reminder people to check documentation about OS requirements. For example, yes, thank you, Toby. Correct. There is a new kind of in-flight checklist before you upgrade. Now, actually, the in-flight will help you to check before you upgrade, before you install, if your server, everything, OS is good enough or not. Thank you, Toby. Yeah. Another one, James, I missed the beginning. Can you explain again why should we restore the backup daily? Only reason you should restore backup daily, again, to other instance, is to make sure to validate your backup still working. What if the script stop running, backup is running? You never know. Then when you really need it, you realize that the backup never worked. Only reason to restore it, I mean, not only reason, some other big players, we use the restore for DR purposes. Again, you don't have to have a DR, but you do need the backup daily and restore it somewhere regularly. You can validate, make sure the restore process is still working. Daniel, TC19, that is no longer necessary. Okay. Maintenance cleanup, I don't know what Daniel mentioned. Maybe you can post in the chat. It's not necessary to do a cleanup maintenance. I don't know what it means. Brian, Bill, if I have a 3 nodes cluster, how can I restart Tableau without downtime? You cannot. No matter you have a 3 or 30 or 1. TSM stop will stop everything. Again, reserve a weekly downtime to do through cleanup. That's our right as a server admin. Server has to be done, no matter you have 100 nodes or not. Sorry. Daniel, Tableau software documentation dropped reference to code cleanup. Dropped. Well, that dropped. It's up to you to decide. I still do the weekend downtime doing the cleanup. It happens to me. I know it. My cleanup did not do it correctly. I have a problem. It's up to you. I know it's downtime. Very often when the company is in a critical period of time, they're saying that I cannot have downtime. They're negotiating with our team. We still reserve a downtime. Louis, are there any features to support PHI? I don't know, sorry. Val, please send the email to entire recording. Yes, the recording will be available. Actually, maybe, recording will be available. Brendan, do you have any recommendations for opening up security for external client view outside your company and keep project data? We'll talk about this later. How do you open up? That's your own security, how to design it. But even you open to external users, again, those users have to be on Tableau server as users. Technically, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's a company's called policy, which type of users you allow them to be on server, which type of users you don't allow them on server. Freestyle, can Tableau server admin limit workbooks published based on the data source connection? Limit workbook published, how many workbooks they publish on the server? No, you cannot limit on that. Although in each site, if you want, you can limit the space. The better way to go limit is to delete the unused content, the archiving. Every 3 months, for me, if any workbook is not being used by anyone in 3 months, I delete them from Tableau server automatically. That's much better way to do manage the content as admin on the server. Victor, can Tableau able to provide a feature in the future allow non-site admin people access site status, job status? Please submit ideas. Crystal, for example, how can I prevent users from publishing workbook that are not connected to a dev database? Well, you cannot. Tableau is a self-service. If they are publisher, they have a full rights to publish anything on the server. You should trust them. You should really trust them. This is again about the trust. If you have a 16 years old daughter, do you allow her to drive? Okay, it's not a trust. Okay, draw the line. Certain things is not what the survey means should worry, then we don't worry. Let owners decide how to do the things. Jeff, thank you, Jeff, for being here. Even this is for admin 101, you are a very experienced person. Do you run into caching problems with workbook connect to public data sources? Yes, I do have a caching problems. I'm telling you, sometimes when public, yes, the caching problems with published with the data. Okay, I think Tableau fixed this as part of either 2020.2 or 2020.1. They know the issue. There's a cache issue. When the abstract's refreshed, the workbook does not reflect latest data. I think 2020.2 has a fix. Check for that. Check pre-release. Also, where can I find render time? HTTP request table has render time. I will share the workbook. I think I have 3 more. I'm gonna go. I know it's the top of hour already. If I have a 3 nodes cluster, how I can restore downtime? You cannot. And avoid downtime to do the cleanup. Scott, shall we also update desktop to match server version? Yes, of course. Of course. When you upgrade the server, you always recommend the users to upgrade their Tableau desktop. Daniel, not necessary to shut down app to clean up in TSM 2018.2 per Tableau's engineers. I could be wrong. Daniel was saying that I don't need a shutdown application to do the TSM cleanup. I could be wrong. I need to validate this. Hopefully, Daniel is right. Hopefully, Daniel is right. Jeff, I can share my workbook, the render time and performance too. Yeah, Jeff, please share your workbook, render time and performance. That would be very helpful. Definitely. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I'll talk to you likely next month. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you very much, Roster.